Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to The Tonight Show. Today we have present with us a very special guest. He is the writer of one of my favorite books, How I Braved Anu Auntie, and founded a $1 million company. He also is, the founder of a $1 million company, alma mater, maker of hoodies and other college merchandise, and most importantly, is also the founder of one of the first education technology companies in India, Mento. Please put your hands together for Mr. Varun Agarwal. Hi, Varun. Welcome to the show. It's a great honor having you here with us today, and also I'm sorry about the setup, but the studio kind of cut us out on a budget. So let's start with how you've been. Hey John, thanks for having me on the show. I am doing absolutely perfectly fine. I just used two adjectives. I think that's a bad sign. However, it's all going great. Well, that's great to hear. Moving on, so the audience here is filled with a lot of young people that obviously want to know your journey and how you got to the point of founding a $1 million company, and what, you're only 33 years of age. How have you achieved so much at such a young age? Okay, to start off, the idea of achieving, I feel like it's very subjective from person to person, because I don't feel achieved because of the $1 million part of it. I feel achieved because of the success that it brought about and the effect it got onto other people's lives. So a little bit about me is I never really thought that I'd be an entrepreneur. I didn't know the first thing about doing business. I come from a typical middle class family, and one day I was just completed my engineering. I was sitting and drinking with my friend at a bar, and both of us wrote down this business plan on a tissue, because that's where all greatest ideas come from, right? And on this tissue we wrote, what if every school had its own merchandise? Because we were getting nostalgic about our high school days and we started missing school a little bit. So we thought, we should start just creating hoodies that said Cottonian on the back, because I'm from the school Bishop Cottons, and it said we were called Cottonians basically. So that was the idea behind all of this. And we set up a stall in Cottons for our yearly fest, and yeah, it just sold really well, because one kid came up to us and he asked us, hey, where did you get that hoodie? And I told him, hey, we make it, do you want to buy one? And then he got 10 of his friends to buy, and then they got 10 of their friends, and at the end of the first day we ended up selling 2,500 hoodies. And I did not know the first thing about doing business or clothing or textile. I was from an engineering background. Interesting. So basically what you're telling me is your company was formed over a drunken debate. Am I right? Okay, moving further, now let's talk about, what you wanted to do. Did you always know that you were going to end up being a business person? Or did you have other plans for yourself? See, that's the thing, Johnny. I did not ever think I was going to do engineering, but I really wanted to do filmmaking actually. And I was in 11th, 12th, and I thought I'll take my handycam and show people what I saw. I thought that was a beautiful way to communicate. But I told my mother I wanted to be a filmmaker, and she said, are you mad or what? And then she went and told her best friend, Anu Auntie. And Anu Auntie said, are you mad or what? No one will give you dowry. So apparently that was her concern. But regardless, I tried my hand at filmmaking. I did my engineering, and side by side I did my filmmaking. I had this little YouTube channel called Last Minute Films. In fact, it still runs. And we hit 1 million subscribers, in fact, a couple of years ago. But I think my biggest break came when Vishal Dalani's band Pentagram approached me to film a video for them, and I was over the moon. I was absolutely stunned at this opportunity. And then a producer in Bombay saw these videos and he wanted to work with me. But I did the one thing that I really regret, which was I told my mother about it, and she told Anu Auntie about it. And they had to say, are you mad or what? You have 1 year of engineering left, finish that. So I thought, fine, I'll finish my engineering and maybe I'll go get a job. And luckily for me, even though I turned this opportunity down, I went for it. I failed my engineering although, and that's when I realized I don't have anything left to lose anymore. Because it wasn't that bad. Failure wasn't that bad. So I went ahead, I went back to the studio in Bombay, hoping they'd have a job for me, and they did. They had a job for me. and I started directing music videos for them to a point where I got to work with Preeti Zinta, one of the most beautiful actresses in the country. I got to work with her. And she could hardly believe that a 20-year-old was directing her कि उधर जाओ ऐसे dance करो, and it was quite flabbergasting. I'll be honest with you. I would just like to point out to the audience that this man here has tried engineering, and people that brave engineering, they have my respect. But you say you wanted to be a filmmaker, and in fact, we have one of your films over here. So now if I may ask you, what has been the philosophy behind all of this? What was the one thought that went on over in your head as you progressed through your entrepreneurial journey? It's funny that you say what was the one thought that went on through my head, because all my life I had been told to think before I take a decision. This one word, think. And every time I'd think, I'd go into an entire set of inhibitions. I'd start thinking about it. I'd realize that it sounds very unfeasible, it sounds a bit silly. So I did the absolute opposite after I failed on engineering. I decided to not think. I took up the philosophy of don't think, do what feels right. And that was when things started getting better for me. Because after that, I didn't think of the outcome. I did what I felt was necessary. I did what I felt was suited to me, and I stopped thinking and I started doing. That's when I started noticing change. That's when I took up my filmmaking. Otherwise, I'd have been just a regular engineer, not complaining. Engineers are great. However, I don't think that was the life suited for me. No, I'm not going to lie. A lot of us have actually been victims to the idea of thought, of thinking, of inhibitions. Moving further, if I'm assuming you'd like to give the same advice to the younger generation, right? Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like everybody should just do what they feel is coming to them naturally, instead of thinking about it, instead of listening to the Anu aunties in their life. So when did you realize for yourself that you had become successful, that you had seen success? What was it like? When was it your moment? Was it money? Was it fame? What gave you the realization that, I've made it? You see, now that's the most interesting part about this journey. It wasn't the money or the fame. Of course, it was appreciated. But success cannot be quantified in money, I feel that way. My success was when I was at that same bar where we thought of Alma Mater, and I saw this kid walk in and he had a Cottonian hoodie on. And that's when I realized that yes, we've made it happen. If I'm at a speech, if I'm at a conference, I'm talking to people, and just a stranger comes up to me, and someone I don't at all know, and they tell me, hey Varun, you've done a great job. That's when I feel like I've actually succeeded in what I tried to do. Okay, just one last question before you go. You keep telling us about Anu Auntie. We've heard a lot about her in your music videos, in your songs, and well, also in your book. You wrote a book about Anu Auntie. I'm pretty sure Anu Auntie won't be suing anytime soon. But who is this elusive Anu Auntie? Anu Auntie. Anu Auntie is the love of my life, man. No, I'm just kidding. Anu Auntie, if you're watching this, all respect for you. Anu Auntie was our neighbor and my mother's best friend, and she always had something to say. about my life, and for some reason I never understood why. Like, I didn't get why she was always trying to say something about my life. When I wanted to take up filmmaking, she said, "Oh, nobody will give you dowry." When I started Alma Mater, she said, "Oh, you're a t-shirt salesman." When I moved on to my other ventures, she went, "Oh, you're being entrepreneur now, get normal job, no one will marry you." And I felt like that had a lot to do with the way my own mother would treat me sometimes, based on how Anu auntie felt about me. I'm certain all of us had an Anu auntie in our life at some point of time. I know I did. Except she came in the form of my actual auntie. That's all the time we have for now. Thank you so much, Mr. Varun, for coming out on this show and talking to our audience. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Varun Agarwal?